to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq, with daily insight on the Nasdaq-100, or the NDX, which is made up of 100 of the largest domestic and international non-financial innovative companies listed on Nasdaq. The NDX has been the barometer for U.S. large cap growth and also one of the best performing indexes over the last decade and a half, not to mention one of the most liquid index ecosystems in the world. Joining me this Thursday afternoon, we have Brian Joyce, Managing Director on Nasdaq's Market Intelligence Desk, for an update on technical levels to watch in the Nasdaq-100, as well as some key trends that we have not seen in almost 2 years. Brian, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thank you, Jill. Thanks for having me.
All right, Brian, before we get into your charts, we're heading into earnings season. A lot of these Nasdaq-100 heavyweights are going to be reporting over the next couple of weeks, and we're at pretty significant valuations. So I think investors will be looking to see if the earnings results do in fact match stock prices at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. The market for some time now has been trading, at a premium to its historical valuation. Rates are low; they're expected to remain low. And that is where we're seeing a lot of this volatility come in as of late, very recently, really particularly since the June FOMC, where the market interpreted that meeting to be the Fed was being more hawkish. And we have since seen, actually over the last week, very high inflationary data coming through on the economic side with the CPI numbers, and just yesterday, the PPI data as well. So even though Powell today and yesterday is speaking to the House Financial Services Committee, and he himself is staying on the dovish side, and he has a high bar before the committee is going to, begin tapering its asset purchases, or even speaking about and communicating a timeline for that tapering before it takes place. The markets are looking ahead, and so we're seeing that inflationary data, and they're acting on it. And so that I believe what's going on, you would think then rates would be trading higher, especially on the long end. But if your expectation is that the Fed is going to have to taper sooner, then maybe what you're doing is you're investing on behalf of a slower economic growth in the future. So a lot of what we're hearing right now is, potentially we're at peak economic growth, peak economic or corporate earnings power right now. Obviously, we'll have to wait, and you'll have to wait to see how that plays out. But I think that's what the market is, dealing with right here.
All right, Brian, let's take a look at your Bloomberg here. Pull up some charts. We'll start with the Nasdaq-100 for some fresh technical levels to watch. And it's pretty interesting to see that green uptrend over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, so if we look at the, the weekly chart, which took me a little bit to find, but right here we can see we had 8 straight weeks of gains in the Nasdaq-100. And, that's something we haven't seen since early 2019, late 2018. Back then, it represented the start of a new uptrend. I don't want to say bull market, but a new uptrend, because the fourth quarter of 2018, we had roughly a 20% correction in the stock market. So this time again, we did go through that period of corrective price action in the spring, and we're up about 15% of the last 8 weeks. So this, recent weakness over the last couple of days, I would just highlight the year-to-date high was made just 2 days ago on Tuesday. I just flipped over to my daily candlesticks here. This is the 8-week uptrend we just went through. And on Tuesday, we put this, what I would call, a bearish gravestone doji pattern. The day before, on Monday, we had a bit of a doji pattern as well. Oftentimes, when you see that at the top or the bottom of a trend, it could denote a change of character. And now, if we look at what the index is doing right now, we did see yesterday we had a red candle. Even though we were up on the day, we have a red candle because the index gapped higher but closed near the bottom of the range. And then today we're down about 0.8%. We're seeing that downside follow through. So these are daily candlesticks, very short term. And I don't want to get too bearish because of that. If you look here, same chart, the daily period candlesticks, but we have the moving averages here, the 20, the 50, and the 200. You can see even the 20-day average, the NDX and Nasdaq-100 is still well above the 20-day. That's a very short-term moving averages. Even within strong uptrends, it's common to see a security, whether it's an index or a stock, on minor pullbacks, test that average. So we still haven't even tested the 20-day average. So I think what we're just seeing here today and yesterday is normal jockeying, some profit taking, and at the moment, absolutely nothing too concerning. If we look at the weekly candlestick here, if we have weakness throughout the rest of the day, and particularly into tomorrow, I'll be looking to see if we form a bearish engulfing pattern. That would mean tomorrow's close would need to be below last week's opening level, which is about 14,755. So we need to see about another 30, 40 points down to have that bearish weekly candlestick pattern. even if worst case scenario that does take place and is to happen, my expectation would be the retest of the prior high. But still very early to be calling that. The breadth, as we had noted last week, all of a sudden over the last couple of weeks, it has been making higher highs. We're seeing more stocks within the Nasdaq-100 participating and making 52-week highs. So that's a good thing to see. We're not seeing that amongst the rest of the market, but we are seeing that within the Nasdaq-100. So on an absolute and relative basis, I still like the way the Nasdaq-100 is behaving. And I think the last day or two, the pullbacks we're seeing is just very normal profit taking after a very strong uptrend over the last 8 weeks.
All right, Brian, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you.